Greetings and welcome to Bridging the Gap. Ian Hansen along with intuitive medium and spiritual advisor Brenda Burgett. Brenda, Merry Early Christmas.
Merry ho-ho.
Merry ho-ho, as she likes to say. I got a great gift from Brenda. I'm going to tell this story while we're filming on this, our 24th episode of Bridging the Gap here on Web TV, I guess you could say. Is that official, Jason? Web TV is an actual thing. I guess we're not on there, so we're on the interweb. Yeah, that would be it. That's our Kiefer Sutherland edition of the program, therefore. And actually, Brenda, we're filming this on the 19th of December, so this will be pre-Christmas for the two of us, but again, these are Christmas wishes for all of you, and if you believe in such things or celebrate it at all. And it's also 2 days before what is supposed to be the end for a lot of people in the world who are a bit more, I don't want to say paranoid, but we're going to talk about that because we've kind of been building up to this 2012 business, and the winter solstice is in a couple days from when we're filming this, so we're going to talk about those ideas and how something might actually be afoot, although don't panic just yet.
Sounds interesting. Let's see what happens.
And there's some questions, of course, that have been filing in. I have them right here for Brenda Burgett. You can get these to her yourself if you'd like to. Bridging the Gap with Brenda is the place to do that. It's online, bridgingthegapwithbrenda.com or bridgingthegaptv.com. Didn't need the cue, I had it. I just wanted to see if he was going to correct me, and he did. That's Shuffy off camera. Hello, Shuffy. He's wearing a full elf suit for us. You're not going to see it, though. So.
I think you should take his coffee. I think he needs.
Well, I think we need to explain to everybody that I've had kind of a day.
Yes.
And we're wondering if maybe that isn't because of the energy that's changing.
I've had a day myself. I've had phone calls with people that are having days. There is definitely something going on energetically that's making it a little bit hard to maybe. I hate the thing about being centered. I mean, it just sounds like a placemat or something to me.
Miyagi doesn't like that either.
Yeah.
Remember, left side safe, right side safe, walk middle, squash just like grape. So he doesn't like to be centered either.
Okay.
But you're on the phone with people today. Are they worried about this winter solstice stuff?
No, they're not so worried anymore. We got a lot of questions earlier in the year about that.
Yeah.
What did I think was going to happen? What's going on? But there is definitely some things going on energetically, and it's making people very uneasy. And then they start to question, well, maybe there is something to this. People who have been quite comfortable with the whole thing are calling and saying, what do you think?
I'm a little rattled now that we're down to the 11th hour and I maybe haven't said all of my penance that I should.
Well, no, not necessarily, but it's just, why am I so uneasy? And these are people who are normally quite grounded.
Another word we love. Centered and grounded. We've used them both now, so we can check them off.
That's another one. Let's don't ever use basically.
Yeah, and we also, with Brenda, where she's concerned at least, don't like to have a breakthrough. That's another one that's off limits for us too. So, yeah.
I get to do that, I guess.
I broke through a few things once. Thank goodness it didn't actually. Oh, we shouldn't talk about that. So, I switched brands. It was fine. So, Brenda, we should probably chat first of all about the fact that you have had. I want to. This will all be old hat too, by the way. By the time you're watching this, I mean, if all of us are still around, which I imagine we probably will be. That's my guess on the whole thing, anyway. This will be so. Why are they talking about 2012? It's over now. I mean, but we're having to do this ahead of the fact, so we wanted to. That's why. Saving it for archival principles. So, but you have done personal readings for many people now that have far transcended the date of December 21st, 2012. Not that everything that you would get from spirit guides would have to do with individual dates, but you have seen plenty of individual futures that go well beyond the date that we're just a couple of days away from 48 hours now or so.
Yes,
yeah.
Absolutely.
And that would, to me, be if, again, you believe in the gift. Brenda has, and many psychics like her have, proof that the pudding is on the table, and we're going to eat pudding. We're fine. The pudding's going to come out. So.
But there's supposedly, I like the idea, and we'll see what happens, that there is a huge shift, and you and I talked about that. There is actually an energetic shift going on, possibly. Talking about, but we won't maybe go into the scary part of it.
No, I don't really want to go into the scary part of it because I think that's the easy part of it to go into. And I think human beings, Brenda, and correct me if you think that I might be off here, but I think There's a really bad 80s movie. It was actually made in 92, I think. Jason probably knows this one. Shuffy, off camera, helping us. It's called Highway to Hell. Yeah, he's shaking his head. Of course he knows it. The Stillers were in it. They played bit parts. Christy Swanson was in it. She played the heroine. There's some Chad Lowe, who was the Lowe brother, not as attractive as Rob. Too bad. So sad. He gets to be the B actor. There's a part in there, Brenda. It's a stupid movie. It's actually, I like the movie myself, but they go to hell, which is some uninhabited place in the deserts of the Southwest, probably where they filmed this. And there's a guy who's sort of slimy, plays Satan in this movie, and there's a little monologue that he has in it where he trails off and says, you know, you humans, you're so ignorant. You think you're all going to go out just like that in a blaze of glory. Oh no, human beings are going to be around for a very, very long time. And I kind of agree. I kind of think we're not going to get off as easy as a giant asteroid, another Tobo eruption. Maybe a few of us will get gone that way, but I think we're going to have to sort this out for ourselves. So that having been said, given your gift, Brenda, would you be able to see such a calamity? I mean, if there was something that was going to wipe out 9/10 of the population, would those things just go dark for you?
I don't know. I've never seen anything
yeah.
like it, but I have seen earthquakes. I've seen tsunamis. I've seen things that airplane crashes. When I was much younger, thank goodness I haven't seen anything like that in a long time.
That's got to be scary.
It's very scary because I really didn't want to believe any of it at the time. But I know we had a thing where you called me and said, or texted me and said, are we going to have, it was a joke of some sort, I think, and then are we going to have a tsunami or earthquake? And when you asked me that, I immediately saw one, but not where you necessarily asking about, but it was across the country.
And I have proof of this too. This was recently. It was the earthquake that was centered in Kentucky back in November. And we live near the Cascadian subduction zone. And I'm a little paranoid because it's overdue for a very large earthquake. And the place that we stay by the beach is going to get swallowed up by the next giant wave. Last one was in the year 1700, so it's always in the back of my mind. There's a very long bridge in Astoria, too, called the Astoria-Megler Bridge. I wouldn't want to get trapped on any part of that when it goes, too. So it's just always rattling back in there, testing me. You kind of know that, and we've had some fun with it. So before I went on this trip the last time, I texted you and said, okay, are we good? And you said, there will be an earthquake, but not where you're going. It'll be back east. And sure enough, there was. So you do see these things.
I do see them, and when something like that will come to me, then I think, well, what am I supposed to do with this? Well, so far nothing. I hope that my time is gone before anything like that happens.
I think all of us are rooting for
Yeah.
that to happen, aren't we?
I'm a bit of a coward. I want to go with everybody around crying and tell me what a good person I've been, and and my servants bringing me chocolates.
How many do you want us to hire?
A lot.
A lot.
A lot. Yes.
Okay, that's
That's
good.
if I'm going, and I'm perfectly all right with going out. But no, I don't. I try really hard. You and I've talked a lot about this, and I'm grateful to have you in my life to talk to this sort of about, because there aren't that many people that think and feel the same way that I feel and you feel. So it's good to bounce it off of each other and see what we think. But
Well, I'm hoping that there are, and they're out there, and that they might be finding their way to us, actually, so that they can open their own dialogues and eventually maybe communicate with us, too.
That's what we're doing this for, is getting people an outlet. And another reason I believe, number one reason is to be of service to people who need what we have to offer. And you talk a lot about my gifts. Your gifts are, you have gifts of your own. We all have gifts. And when you realize that you have gifts and you see people like us talking openly about it, and we're not actually strange anymore, we're fairly, I hate that word normal. I've got to invent some new words.
Well, that may be part of what is changing, up the energies that are changing.
Exactly. That's what we were talking about.
I just came from the coffee shop where I usually come from before I come here, because that's usually where I come from before I go anywhere, actually. So, did we get the product placement in, by the way? Because I'm still angling for free. Oh, well, we'll take care of that later. So, they told me, a couple fellows work down there. They're great young men, and we have a lot of fun, similar senses of humor. But they were talking to me tonight. They said, "Did you see the nut job that came in, or the wacko, the guy?" And I said, "No, who's the nut job?" "Oh, he comes in all the time, and he doesn't let us put a lid on his coffee because he's convinced that the government is tracking us and or sterilizing us with these lids on." Oh, sorry. With these lids on the coffee. It's only a certain few. It's only a certain few. So, and so that's weird. And he's like, yeah, it's a little bit odd. I don't know how they would do that with a simple lid, but I guess, hey, they've done crazier things. But then also they tell me too, oh, and he thinks that aliens are coming and the government knows about it and they're covering it up. And I immediately went, yeah, so
Yeah.
I think they're already here and have been here for quite a while, and I think there are some that are probably on their way. And yeah, the government, I imagine, no matter what faction you believe they are, whether they're humans, aliens, human-alien hybrids, human-alien Donnie Marie Osmond hybrids, whatever, they may want to cover this up. So that didn't strike me as being very odd, yet it's still one of those things you snicker at. Well, I didn't really snicker at that. I told him, I don't think the second thing's all that odd. The first one, put a lid on that cup, because I intend to have no children in the coming year. None at all. Anyway, Brenda, there is something afoot, it seems like. The paranoia, though, is dripping into a different vial, it seems like, this time around. Because I remember the Y2K deal. And to me, that was an interesting one, because there was a literal component within our world that could have fried or gone haywire and created a big old mess for us. Parts of New Zealand weren't spared, but the rest of us got off just fine. So you should never buy a computer that says made in New Zealand. They just don't work right. This one, though, people are on Facebook. They're making a big old joke about Friday. And I think there's a concerted effort to make a big joke about Friday. Much like Brenda, there's a concerted effort to make a big old joke about anything that's staring us right in the face, that is a big ugly sore in our world that we don't know what to do with or don't want to do anything with because we don't like change. So what is going on in your opinion?
Well, I've spent an awful lot of time meditating lately, and that's been something that I've had to really want to do, because my mind is fast, like almost everyone else I know, and it's very hard for me to sit down and really be at peace with myself. And some of the questions that are and answers that come to me are how far we've actually come and how far we're going in a short period of time coming right up. I think that the shift of energy is so many things opening up. Just the fact that there was a radio show on that we had, that's an impossibility in what we like to lovingly call Happy Valley. And we have people actually asking where it is now, and we may eventually do something else.
It might come back. It might not.
It might not, but we're
waiting for the check. You got to butter us up a little bit.
So the meditation has said to me, there is great energy coming for everybody, and those that are the least little bit interested are going to get more than maybe they're asking for.
Okay.
And that all, in my mind, I don't see that as being scary. I see it if it's based on love, respect, and a genuine caring for what's going on in our world. It's a wonderful thing. It wasn't that long ago. I think I saw this on TV, some dumb thing that I walked by and it was on that they were burning this poor lady who was actually younger than me.
They were burning her?
Well, it was a reenactment, of course.
Oh, okay, so fictional.
The Puritans burning this lady who...
Texas does have its own television station.
Teenage girls had accused her of being a witch.
Oh, okay,
It was 165 years ago.
165,
That's
so
what
that would
said.
have put it in the mid-19th century. That's not too long ago.
Said.
Wow.
So,
where was this?
It
was right around the time of Lincoln, actually.
Well, it was right. It was in Virginia, I think, or somewhere.
Yeah, they actually did the Salem witch trials around
and
there.
I really didn't want to watch it. My husband watches these things, and I pass through quickly and go and get away from them. But I thought, my goodness, how far we've come and how much further we're going to go. Because there is a shift. There are more and more people wanting to know what's going on. We can actually heal ourselves.
We can, and I actually just did it. And I chuckled at the wrong time, but something just fell into line with saying how far we've come, because I was thinking about, that was one of those times, Brenda, where there was enough, I guess, in the air that people were paranoid. People got into this hysteria about the fact that there was evil in their town, in their state, colony, I guess at the time maybe, whatever the case may be. So they literally put people to death, undoubtedly for no reason at all. And these were grisly, graphic deaths. And then you come maybe, I don't know, 80 years into the future, and the next thing you know, every writer in Hollywood, every author, every poet, every laureate and scholar is being blacklisted in the McCarthy era because they're communists, and the dominoes are going to start falling, and there's this paranoia we've latched onto out of the air. And in 2012, what happened? Twinkie the Kid is dead. And people are freaking out coast to coast that they're going to lose their cupcakes and they're going to lose their ding-dongs.
That is bad.
I was, you know what, I was so, it was such a muse for me to hear people were crying when they were lining up saying, there's no more Twinkie the Kid, I grew up with him, and now there's no golden lariat from that wonderful happy sponge cake for my daughter. So I don't know. I think you're right. Here's the perception I have, Brenda. This is where I'm coming from, and it's very frustrating, and I think you're there too, and I see a lot of people there, no matter where you might feel like they are on this rung of interest in this other side that we've been talking about, that really we're sort of pushing, I guess, if you will, out there. No need to convince or change, though. But that is, there's a great frustration as far as, what do I do? I really want things to change, not just for myself, but for the whole world, the whole planet. But it is going to take more than one person. It's going to take some kind of unity. It's going to take some kind of an effort to say, yeah, I'm tired of watching whales and baby ducks and shorebirds immersed in oil and dying and washing up on the beach. And I am willing to give up my car for this many days a week, or maybe completely, to make sure that doesn't happen. But there's just no cohesion right now, Brenda. So that's the frustration I perceive.
We're seeing some really big things happening. That a horrible massacre in Newtown.
The one that just took place in Connecticut.
And, you know, you get angry, you get sad, you cry with these people, and you know that it could be your grandchildren, your children, or someone you know. And the anger, let's take all the guns and destroy them, let's. But what it's actually doing is bringing us together with a common thing, which is grief and sadness. And I think some things are actually going to be done this time. We're going to get maybe some help for people who are mentally ill, instead of driving by them and wondering, you know, if they're going to throw a rock through your window or what they're going to do. They might actually decide there's a place these people can be where they're safe, and get some help, all the help that they're capable of getting.
Yeah.
Assault rifles need to go away. I'm very much not going to talk about gun control right now. We will at another time. I have my own beliefs, and you know what they are. Okay. Assault rifles, don't need them.
Well, one could argue we don't need firearms at all, but everybody who has camouflage in the closet would probably...
Well, and there's another side to that, and I really don't want to go into that if you don't want to.
I don't want to go into it on this particular occasion either.
We can.
So.
I'll be happy to talk to you about that one, because
I'd love to hear it.
Surprise you, because...
I wore this on my last hunting trip and actually bagged nothing. But what? Oh wait, the Liberace's dog was out there, and I almost accidentally shot it. It's kind of frustrating, though, for us, Brenda, again, to maybe sense that these changes are there, to see these kinds of things happen, and these are the things, I guess, that can be the cornerstones of change, but we always have to ask ourselves, why does it have to get this extreme? Well, it always has to get this extreme before anything gives. And I know you don't like this rant either, but let's face it, the only reason that the mentally challenged, and again, that's the politically correct term these days, so we'll fall in line with, the capital on that one. The only reason that they aren't getting the help that they probably need nationwide is because they don't make any money off those people. Those people are not of the same collective mind that we are to go out and buy stuff. So therefore they have no value to the system in general, which is a capitalist system. And again, yeah, I bash on that a little bit because to me it is slightly backwards. I don't mind if you go out and make a profit. We all have to do it, but where did we trip up? Where is this hole, this gap there? Because that, to me, would be the literal truth. The reason why people aren't getting help is because they're not of any value to the system.
This poor mother that was trying to find a home, or find a place, or help for her son. And there are so many people now that are wondering, what do we do? What do we do with these? How can we help them? And I would think that one of the biggest tragedies besides the horror of all these people, little children losing their lives, would be going through this and not all of a sudden or quickly or whatever saying, okay, this is important, we're going to do this. So maybe something good will come of this. It can't just be all bad. Just can't.
Well, I think one thing I definitely know it does for me is it makes, because the first thing that happens is all of the politicians chime in with, evil has visited our town today. This is a great day of sorrow. We're in shock. All those things. What else do you say? I understand that. But it sort of makes me, I would feel embarrassed to be in that situation, quite frankly, because that whole box is a gigantic mess, too. That playpen is very, very disheveled, and when something like this happens, doesn't that just ground it all and make us all want to say, look, enough is enough with some of these things? Because the uglies to me are right in front of our faces, and really we get punished if we say anything. I mean, I don't want to be a revolutionary. We already met Paul Revere in McDonald's a few months ago, actually.
did.
Yeah, I mean, the Neo Paul Revere.
And I met one in my sales meeting.
We're not trying to change the country. I don't want to get into that. I think we're past that. I think this is a time when flags and borders, they come down altogether because we don't feel we need them anymore.
Well, and here's what I'm seeing. People are changing because they feel the need, the want. There's a hole there. There's a missing part of it, and it can be filled with God. It can be filled with whatever you identify with that takes you to another level and gets you away from the somebody ought to do something, bang, bang, rant and rage.
That's somebody else's fault.
Yeah, and stop doing that and saying, what can I do? What can I do? Take care of you first. We preach that from day one. Sit down, do the meditating, pray, whatever it is that connects you with your God, your source, and ask, what do I do to bring this another step forward? Because of this 2012, people were asking, what's going on, what's going on? And I think the need was there. Our economy's not doing what it could or should be doing, or maybe it is. But it's just time to ask yourself some questions. What can I do? What is there that I can do to make a difference?
Brenda, our world in the West is so different from the world that would be all the way overseas, say in a remote portion of Africa or in Asia, where really life, because the times haven't reached them yet, I suppose, is in the Stone Age in some instances. You've been to China and you can be in the midst of a bustling 21st century metropolis and 20-minute bus ride out of town, you're pushing rocks around to try and make dinner somehow. I mean, it's Fred Flintstone village time.
Really?
So I'm wondering are these changes really more going to affect, as the Hopi believe, Western civilization and the path that it has carved in error, not because of its people, not because it lacks spiritual belief, not because it's evil. I mean, I'm not white person bashing, for goodness sakes. I hope not. I'm as pale as the northern sun. So they're talking, though, about a way of life. They're talking about a balance with the earth that has been lost, a sync with the universe that is at a disconnect that they most certainly ascribe to. And their prophecies for the future definitely talk about those things. So I'm wondering, you know, if you can look at a culture and say, well, it's more simplistic only in the fact that there are less gadgets and no industry or almost no industry, et cetera, is it more off the hook? Does it need to change less because it's more in connection with this earth thing or this spiritual universe thing already than maybe we are over here in the United States, Canada, et cetera?
Quite possibly. I don't really think that, there's been an awful lot of connection with the earth, except in the past when they've had to. They don't have electricity, then you're connected because you have no choice. But the more you evolve, the less you think about maybe your connection. But the beauty of it all is we all seem to go back. We have that void inside us that needs to connect with something, source, and earth is part of all of that. The animals and the beauty and even the wild things that happen with volcanoes and earthquakes. That's all a part of us. It's all. So I'm excited. I'm thinking this next year is going to be amazing.
I think we've forgotten how special we all are. And I know that sounds really Stuart Smalley of me. But I really think that human beings, and I've felt this since I was very young, actually, Brenda, and I read it recently. It was the first time I've ever read it. I was actually reading about the Greys, our friends with the big eyes. You may have been picked up by one, actually, and you wouldn't have necessarily known it because they have a way of sedating you. There's a Jack Daniels from like the 181st century that's amazing, I guess. One sip of this stuff, that is it, man. You are out, and it's years before you may come to. Actually, the abduction experience is a pretty frightening one for people that have been through it in a lot of ways. But this was the first time I had read about the Greys coming around us, being around us from the beginning. It didn't really ascribe to a connection that we have with them necessarily as though they created us in some petri dish or all those things. But they were very curious about us because we have a link to something that this particular article called the universal grid, that in this person's opinion, and apparently some belief system, is able to give anything to anybody at the drop of a hat at the whim of mere thinking of it. We just haven't figured out how to master that yet, although we have done a very good job of that because we manifest things in our life every single day and don't even realize it. Well, these Greys, apparently, according to this gentleman who wrote this, was fascinating, can't do that. And it's not that they want to pull us apart and figure out how to do it because, you know, they want something under the tree this year too. It's because they can't do that, and it's about the only thing that they really can't do. And they're very curious about what has been divinely sort of given to us, if you will. I hate that term, but it really is sort of a divinity that we have. And you know, it's funny, Brenda, I've always felt like human beings were incredibly special in that way. I've always felt like, yeah, there's the galaxy, the universe is teeming with intelligent life, but we throw the best party, and we also, at the end of the day, are just connected to this thing that other things aren't. So,
yeah. In Neil Donald Walsh's book, when he asked God, why did you create us? And it was because we are perfection. God is perfection. And he wants to see what it's like to live through a human life with the emotions and the different things that we go through trying to get where we're going. And on the next show, I'm going to say this right now, we're going to talk about a meditation I had with a gray appearing. So come and get me, find my home.
Oh, I know this one.
The strange home, the home for the strange. We might as well just talk about this.
Yeah, well, that's what we're here to do. It's
this is not
always
as
fascinating stuff.
conservative or as safe.
I know we're out of time too, but I get one last thing. I have to tell this story because I have been gifted a major appliance for the first time in my life, and it has dawned before my 40th time around the sun, so this is awesome. My fridge finally conked earlier in the week. It had been giving me fits since the springtime. Called the repairman, and you can always picture him on the phone, maybe, you know, they're very proud of, you know, their pant size. So you're always picturing him on the phone, scratching with one hand, and maybe, you know, yeah, what you got going on today? And so I called several of them because the first guy didn't believe. He said, well, how old is your fridge? It's 6 years. You buy it new? Yeah. I can't fix it. Well, what, are you not qualified to work on the new ones? No. They build them to fail. They build the compressors to fail, so I can't work on it. It literally is garbage. You need to throw it out like a toaster and get a new one. Well, I didn't believe that. Called 2 other guys. They retorted the same thing to me. So, had to go get a new one. Did, but funny enough, before I went and picked this up at the major appliance store here in our town, I thought you should call Brenda. And I thought, Chris, you can't call Brenda and ask for a major appliance. That's insane. I mean, she can't. Sure enough, we were talking about it the next day, and well, I have a fridge that's downstairs, and you can have it. And I have a picture of this beauty right here. Jason, can you set this up? It's in my coat. I'm sorry. Here, I keep this right off stage. So here, I want to show you my new fridge. This comes from Brenda, so it's a real doozy too. I'm throwing stuff all over the place. Do we have time? Can we do this? You're supposed to ask all these things when there's like a gap here, so. There's like a room bustling around with people. Yeah, we can make this. Go ahead, go ahead. So, it's a wonderful fridge. Ah. See, there he is. Got it? Oh, you're zooming. He's zooming. So this is my new fridge. Nice. Thanks, Brenda.
You're welcome.
Merry ho-ho, as she said to me. So, and they don't make ho-hos anymore. So. It'll get us by for a while until I can get the behemoth stainless steel wolf one that I want. That's $10,586 and keeps celery at the optimal temperature for crunchiness. So, Brenda, thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
Thanks for being here for Bridging the Gap too. It was fun. We maybe have sometimes a little too much fun, but that's kind of the idea of being around on planet Earth, isn't it? Have some fun and think about these things. Go inside yourself, and then once you feel okay with that, you go outside yourself and spread that around. I think that's a pretty good plan for you for not only the new year, but how about right now? Can we talk about resolutions on the next show too?
Let's do that.
Yeah, we should, because I've always hated that whole resolution thing. Start now, today. Don't put these dates in effect necessarily.
Yeah, go ahead and line up a bunch of stuff you're not going to do anyway.
You can do it in the first of the year too. I used to do that as well. There's a good story that goes along with that for next time as well. Brenda Burgett can be reached via our website, bridgingthegapwithbrenda.com. bridgingthegaptv.com, and oh yes, don't forget the YouTube channel. That's Bridging the Gap on TV. Look it up. It'll be right there for you, along with maybe a bunch of stuff from Ghana. And we wish all those people well too, because that's the other Bridging the Gap TV that is a nuts, but we love them anyway. So I'm Ian Hansen. This is Brenda Burgett. Until the next time here on Bridging the Gap, enjoy your existence, folks, and happy survival of the Mayan calendar. Talk to you soon.